my usual videos. This one is more football talk. Anybody knows me knows that I am a college football guy. I love college football, and I am a Buckeye through and through. Born, raised, lived most of my life in Ohio, Buckeye City, Columbus, Ohio. So I'm a huge Buckeyes fan. You know, I lived in other places. Lived in North Carolina also. It's like essentially my second home because I lived there when I was younger, young kid, and I got a bunch of family from North Carolina. That's where my family is from. North Carolina, West Virginia, South Carolina, those areas. That's where my family is from on my mom's side. And even on my dad's side, West Virginia also, but Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, what used to be considered Virginia, all that used to be considered Virginia at one point in time, if you know your history. But anyways, I'm a Buckeye, and you know, we were the number one team until we lost our last game to Indiana. I still think we're the best team. I do believe that there's a good chance that we'll win it all again. You know, back to back. But we gotta, you know, be on our P's and Q's. I feel like this year we have a little bit more competition than we did last year. I think closest competition last year was Texas. I don't think I honestly, in my opinion, last year I think that Texas was a better team than Notre Dame. Had they played each other last year, I think Texas would have beat Notre Dame. Texas was the strongest team in SEC last year, even though they were dominated by the Buckeyes, especially in the second half of you know, the bowl game. I think it was, where was it? It wasn't the Cotton Bowl. Was it? No, it wasn't the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl was Oregon. We played Texas. We may have played them somewhere in Texas. Those could have been the Cotton Bowl. I'm not sure, but I don't think it is because that would have been an awesome. Where was that? Dallas. Is that Dallas? Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, I don't think it was there. Wherever it was. Anyways, we beat them. It could have been somewhere in Florida or maybe Georgia where we played them. But anyways, we beat them last year, and they were the strongest team in SEC last year. And, you know, I know Georgia won the SEC championship last year, but I still think that Texas was the better team. They should have won that game. But anyways, last season, so what this video is about is the conferences, right? Big Ten versus the SEC, right? So for a very long time, the SEC has been known for being the better conference, right? For, we're going to say like the past 15 years, the SEC has been given the title as being the better conference, right? And this whole narrative had came about because of, you know, the natties. And for a very long time, national champions were crowned not by beating the best, but just because they were, you know, you had people who voted, came together, and it was like, okay, yeah, you know, we think that this team is the best, so we're gonna hand them the natty, right? You didn't have the playoff system, the bracket system that we have today. So, you know, you had teams, you know, like Alabama, Auburn, Louisiana, teams like that were being crowned, you know, the national winners. And the same thing was going on in, you know, other parts of the country too. So, you know, you had a lot of people at the time who was like, you know, SEC, we think they're the strongest conference in the country. And we really didn't have a system to really determine that. So then once when we got into the BCS era, you know, they had, you know, like a little playoff system to where it was like 4 teams, you know, they would kind of compete, or actually it was like can I remember? Because it's been such a long time. You know, they would play, they would compete, and there you go. You would have your national winners. Then we went to the 14 playoffs, and in the 14 playoffs, you know, we had SEC winners. We had Alabama win. Had Alabama won a few times. You know, you had Georgia win a few times. You had Big Ten teams like Ohio State, Michigan, who won a few times under the BCS and even the 14 playoff era, right? Well, things have been shaken up in college football over the past, I want to say really the past 3 years with NIL, right? And for people who don't know what NIL is, and I would assume if you're watching my video, you probably more than likely know what NIL is because, you know, we're talking about the SEC not being the deepest conference sport. I think that's a whole myth. And I think that's been a myth for a very long time. The reason why I say that is because there is a bias for the SEC. There's a huge bias, and it is being proven time and time again by the postseason. What do I mean by that? Well, we see that every season, at the beginning of every season, SEC teams are ranked very high. Not only is it being proven by postseason, it is being proven by the season, right? Because we have Alabama teams that are freaking, what were they, like 9-3? And they were still able to get into the playoffs over 10-2 teams. Because Alabama is just a better football program. Now, I don't think that Alabama is a terrible team. Not by the least bit. They're definitely not a complete team, but they're not a terrible team. There are way worse teams out there. But they got in over 2-10 teams like Notre Dame, right? And people are like, well, Alabama is just a much better team than Notre Dame because look who Notre Dame played and look who they lost to. That don't mean a hill of beans. I'm telling you, your football schedule, like, does not necessarily denote, you know, how good your team is. Like, because you play what they consider cupcake teams, right? Because for a very long time, even this last season and this season, they have been saying, oh, the Big Ten are a bunch of cupcakes. They play a bunch of cupcake teams. But for the past 2 seasons, you know, post-season of 2024 and 2025, the Big Ten is dominating the SEC. And the SEC is supposed to be the deepest conference. The only reason why they're getting this benefit of being the deepest conference is because how they're being ranked. Every season, every preseason, they're being ranked high. They're being ranked high. Honestly, in my opinion, my honest and humble opinion, I don't believe that any team should be ranked until 6 games into the season at the very earliest, right? That should be the earliest any team should be ranked, is after game 6. There should be no preseason ranking. I don't give a fuck if you won a natty or not. Ohio State should not have been ranked number 2 and I think we were like ranked number 3 at the beginning of the season. Nah. There should not be any rankings until 6. I know people that think that that's exciting, but it does nobody any good. I mean, hell, look at Texas. Texas, they were, how did they finish their season? I don't think they were 10-2. I think they were they 9-3? I think they were 9-3, right? And it sucks for them. I feel bad for Texas because I feel like they are a better team than Alabama. But yeah, Alabama got in over them. I do feel like they're a better team than Alabama. I feel like they have a better chance of like, okay, so the 2 strongest teams are, the 3, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like the 3 best teams in the playoffs right now are Ohio State, Indiana, and it's not ranked in any particular order, but Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. I know people are like, well, what about Georgia? No, Oregon has shown more consistency than Georgia. Yeah, Georgia have started to become more consistent throughout the season, but honestly, I think Oregon is the better team. People are like, well, Georgia, no, we have an SEC schedule. No, don't mean shit. Look at SEC versus Big Ten right now. Post-season bowl games. We're dominating them, 6-0. Last year, we were 5-2. We only lost, or 5-1, I think. Either 5-1 or 5-2. Big Ten won 5 games versus the SEC, and the SEC only won 2 games versus the Big Ten. Right now, we're 6-0. We're 6-0 against you guys. You don't talk about y'all the deepest conference? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Oregon is a better team than Georgia. I feel like if they played today, Oregon is the better team. I know people like to say, oh, Georgia is a hard-to-kill team. So is Oregon. So is Oregon. If you look at the teams that they played and in the close games that they had, they're hard to kill too. Their only losses against Indiana, which is the #1 team right now. Right now. That is their only loss. So no. I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it. They lost to the #1 team, and I don't think it was by like a large margin. It wasn't a blowout. It may have been like a 7 or 14 point win. So no, I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear it right now. Somebody said something. Let me give you some sleep. I gotta up early. Hey, shout out to you. Shout out to you, Chuck. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I'm out here on the road, driving to my first delivery for the day. But yeah, anyways, like I said, this is football talk, so it has nothing to do with history or anything spiritual, stuff like that. So if y'all ain't into college football, go ahead, get you some sleep. Get you some sleep. I mean, hell, get you some sleep over football. Your sleep is more important than football, trust me. But yeah, y'all can always catch up if y'all care about football, college football. Y'all can always catch this on the back end. Like, I'm not one of those people that's about views and and stuff like that. Obviously, if I was, I'd be putting in way more work into this channel. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, you get some good rest, Chuck. But yeah, like I was saying, Oregon, they have had games that are cupcakes. And I think that every team really plays cupcake games. I will say that most teams, even the most dominant teams, like SEC and even Big Ten teams, we all have mostly cupcake schedules. Like, let's just keep it a buck. And just because the SEC plays more SEC teams than the Big Ten plays Big Ten teams in their schedule, at least that's what they say, doesn't mean that those SEC teams that they're playing aren't cupcakes, right? Because we've seen SEC teams that were ranked very high preseason and even throughout the season have very terrible seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, LSU was supposed to be something big this year. They didn't make it. You know what I'm saying? Texas A&M has some questionable losses. Honestly, what the hell? Texas A&M losing to Miami? Like, I thought that OSU was going to be playing Texas A&M. That's what I thought. I mean, hell, remember, at one point in time, Texas A&M was talking about they should be #1. Same thing with Miami. They were saying that they should be #1. But honestly, I don't think that they're #1 teams. I know that some people are like, oh, man, Texas A&M versus Miami, that was a great defensive game. Honestly, that game, I had to turn it off halfway through. I kept checking in, time to time, see what the score was, but that was a boring-ass game. I'm a defensive guy. Like, I played defense when I played football. I was a defensive tackle. Hell, they had me playing nose tackle a lot of times. But yeah, I mean, I love defense. I love a good defense, but it wasn't that the defense, because the narrative was that, oh yeah, man, the defense is so great for Texas A&M and Miami that this is just a defensive game. And it's like, no, the offense is so trash that it's making it seem like the defense is good. And honestly, their defense they were not that good. They were not that great. It's just that their offense was trash. And if you're playing a trash offense, yeah, it can make your defense look like it's shining. But really, it was just a terrible game. It was just two teams that were just maybe more conflated than what they should have been. Because that was kind of like the theory early on in the season is that Texas A&M and even Miami are imposters, right? And I honestly, I feel like that bowl game kind of showed it because it was very low scoring and it was just a lot of just terrible. I mean, like a terrible route running. Like the wide receivers weren't connecting with the quarterback. I don't know if the quarterback was the quarterbacks were looking awful, but so were the wide receivers, man. Like they weren't getting any distance from the corners and the defensive backs. They weren't getting any separation. The quarterbacks were like clearly missing their wide receivers. Like, I mean, looking just like how Arch Manning was at the beginning of the season. Remember, and even throughout the season, hell, remember when he was throwing passes and like he's like 2 yards away from his receivers. Like, who are you throwing it to? Same thing with Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson be doing the same thing. I'm looking like, dude, what are you doing? Like, dude, your wide receiver is like 5 yards that way. Who are we throwing it to? Like, you weren't under pressure to get rid of the ball, so who were you throwing it to? I don't know, man. But it was just a terrible game between Miami and Texas A&M, which is why I'm not really worried for the Buckeyes. As long as we have our shit together and we're not resting and we're getting a bunch of rest and, we're getting our drills in and everything is hitting all cylinders during practice, I really don't have anything to worry about. But, yeah, we lose to Miami, man. Yeah, we definitely don't deserve the Natty. I don't want to hear any arguments I don't want to hear any debating from OSU fans, anything like that, man. Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, what could have been and all that. Nah. Because, okay, losing to Indiana is one thing, but if we lose to Miami, the way Miami played, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Hell no, I don't even want to hear it. I do not want to hear it at all, because that was terrible. These motherfuckers was 0-0 going into halftime. Like, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's about 45 minutes of football. 45 minutes of football. These dudes, I can't remember how many series they had before going into the half. No score. Like, no, I don't want to hear that. That's terrible football, man. That's not no great defense. What? Yeah, that was just terrible. Great defense this is how I see great defense. You're making stops throughout. Like, you're getting a lot of third and longs, right? In a series. Like, say you start at your own 20, and the defense is getting the offense to a lot of third and maybe third and longs and stuff like that. That's where you're seeing good defense, right? Not just sacks, not just tackles, right? Because if the offense has a terrible line, yeah, you're going to get a lot of sacks. You're going to get a lot of tackles. But if the defense, damn, man, I'm trying. My windshield wiper is terrible. But if you're getting a lot of third and longs, and you're even getting them to turn over and stuff like that along with that. And say you get down into, the defensive side of the field, and the defense is able to stop them, in the red zones. They're getting a lot of stops in the red zone. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good defense right there. But when the offense is struggling to get, when they're doing 3 and outs, they're turning over on, that means that the offense really is struggling. They're struggling. You're going against a terrible offense. But if the offense is moving the ball, they're moving the ball quite well, but defense is able to shut them down on the defensive side of the field, then that's a good defense. Good defenses know how to tighten shit up, especially when it comes down to the wire. We didn't see any of that during the Texas A&M game. We've seen very little bit of that between the Texas A&M and Miami games. So yeah, if we lose against Miami, then yeah, we definitely didn't deserve to go on. But that game is happening today at 7:30. I'll be watching that. But yeah, so Texas is going to be playing Michigan today, and I feel like this is probably going to be the SEC's first win against the Big Ten for the bowl game. So right now, the Big Ten is winning SEC versus Big Ten. We're winning right now, and there's really no way for them to win and say that their conference is deeper, because we already got 6 wins against them. There's no way they can come back, because the only wins that they can get against the Big Ten right now is, say, if Texas wins against Michigan, which is a good chance. They're favored right now to win against Michigan. So that's 1 win right now. Their next one would be against Indiana, which is tomorrow. So that'd be 2 if they win. And that is Alabama versus Indiana, which I doubt. Indiana, honestly right now, I can't really say that OSU is the better team. I mean, I do feel like OSU is the better team only because we have better players. And if our players get good coaching and we connect and hit on all cylinders, we will be the most dominant team. The only thing is that when we played Indiana, we had terrible coaching. Terrible coaching. Terrible play calling. Not adjusting. And it wasn't really the players adjusting, it was the coaches not adjusting, right? So that's really what it was. Yeah, we had some players that were doing some stupid stuff, like Tegra. I mean, he was just getting beat a lot. I mean, he gave us so many pressures, right? But he's not playing. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. So, there's that. But yeah, if we hit on all cylinders, we're the better team than Indiana. But Indiana is a great team. I am not going to take anything from them. And if they win it all this year, they're the better team. They're the only team that I've been worried about all season. Georgia, not so much. Georgia, yeah, they have the potential to win it all. And honestly, I think that any team really, these are teams that I think have the potential to win it all. Is Indiana, of course, Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, and maybe Alabama. But Alabama is just they're missing pieces. They're missing pieces. Ty Simpson, he has games where he's flashing, and he has just games where he's like struggling. Alabama had too many survival games this year, honestly, for them to beat Indiana or Ohio State, even Oregon. The only way that I could see Alabama potentially winning it all is, say, if Miami takes out OSU or Georgia takes out OSU, and Georgia makes it all the way, to the Natty, and somehow Indiana loses to Alabama, which I don't see happening, man. Indiana is too much of a complete team to lose to Alabama. I feel like Alabama, their time has come. Them surviving like roaches. Well, I think Indiana has come to be the exterminator. They came with the perfect mixture to knock these cockroaches out. I'm not trying to talk shit about the Alabama fan base at all. Not at all. There's some people that I care about who are Alabama fans, so I'm not, here to stump on you guys. But no, I mean, like, they've been surviving like roaches. Like, how roaches are hard to kill. Anybody who had a roach infestation, y'all know what I'm talking about. They are hard to kill. Like, So hard that, when you poison them, you have to use different poisons every time, because they adapt to the poison, right? That's how Alabama has been, right? They've been surviving in games that they were losing, and then they would come back and win. And you're like, what the hell? Like the Oklahoma game, Oklahoma, what the hell, man? I watched that game, I was like, oh my God, these guys are about to come back and win. Yeah, Oklahoma, they just died after the second quarter. They just gave up. I don't know what it was. It's ridiculous. 27, or was it 21 or 27 unanswered points? Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. But yeah, that's the only way. But I don't see Alabama beating Indiana, right? So yeah, so the first win that, like I said, that SEC may get against the Big Ten in a win will be Texas versus Michigan, right? But there's a chance that Michigan could win. I mean, hell, if they want to play their A game, I mean, hell, they beat Alabama last year. Everybody was counting Michigan out, and Michigan beat Alabama last year, so they could surprise us and beat Texas. But I think that Texas is a more experienced team. They're a tougher team. Outside of the loss to Indiana, they were the team that gave Ohio the closest run for their money. Now, granted, that was the first game of the season, and OSU, the Buckeyes, we did hold back in that game. We were, babying Julian Sand at the beginning of this season. So yeah, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, how is the SEC the deepest conference when for 2 years in a row, and you still have people like, I literally saw this guy this morning saying that the SEC, he's like, because the guy, one of the radio personalities posed a question to him, like, is the Big Ten the toughest conference? And the guy said, he's like, no, they're just a top heavy conference. They just have, Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon, right? That's all. They're just top heavy. The other 15 teams are just terrible. But you're saying that the SEC, and he said that the SEC is the deepest conference, but it's like, why is it for the past 2 years the SEC has been getting dominated postseason in these bowl games? Why is that? And don't tell me because of opt-outs, because every team has had opt-outs this season, right? And it's so, because Missouri fans, they love bringing up 3 seasons ago how Missouri beat OSU, right? But the funny thing was, at least with that one, the Buckeyes, we had I think 10 of our starters opt out that game, while Missouri, they had no opt-outs that season. So we literally had our second and third stringers in playing against their starters, and they won by I think maybe a field goal or something like that. Maybe a touchdown at the most. I can't remember the game exactly, but yeah, come on, that's a huge difference than what's going on now. A lot of people are opting out. Ever since NIL, man, you have a lot of players that are just opting out. They're just opting out left and right. Or they're probably playing one series and then they're sitting out. That's crazy work. But yeah, the SEC, that whole narrative needs to die. The only reason why they're getting the benefit of the doubt is just because how they're being ranked preseason, which to me is just so stupid. So stupid. It really inflates these teams and make them seem like they're better than what they are. Then they get to the season and they get dropped. Just like how there was that whole thing with Arch Manning this season. They're sitting here saying, oh yeah, man, this guy, he's the next Johnny Manziel and all that. Yeah, get out of here, man. This dude turned out to be a whole bust this season. I think that he's going to be better next season. Oh, hopefully for Texas fans. I mean, damn. But he really didn't get a lot of development this season. Like, you would think with this guy, you know, this being his second year, yeah, he played, a few games last season. And he played most of this season, that there would be a lot of development with this dude. But that just was not the case at all, man. Like, dude barely developed this season, you know? Like, he's on par with development when it comes to, what is his name? Bryce Underwood. They got just the same amount of development. I mean, honestly, Bryce Underwood is comparable to Arch Manning. And mind you, Bryce Underwood is a literal freshman this year, which is absolutely pathetic. So I think when it comes to quarterback play, they are kind of like almost at the same level. I would say that Arch Manning is probably a little bit better than Bryce Underwood, but that's actually pretty sad when you think about it. They were saying this dude's praises preseason, acting like he was the second coming of Christ, right? And then he turned out to be a whole bust. And then the same thing with Texas. They turned out to be a whole bust, right? They were ranked number 1. Preseason, number 1. You had all the SEC boys talking all this big talk, you know, ESP, SEC, wherever the fuck they call them, SEC, ESPN. And that's the nickname for ESPN because they ride SEC so hard, man. Had them singing all these praises, and then they feelings got hurt. Feelings got hurt once when they started playing, and then, you know, they had to double back and try to cover their own behinds by talking all this crap about Arch Manning, like, start getting on the bandwagon with everybody else. It's like, no, keep that same energy. Y'all was talking all this crap about how Arch Manning is this and that, how he's so great. But now, since we've seen that he's arch bumming, now you guys want to sit here and join the crowd and talking crap about him. No, keep that same energy, man. But yeah, man. SEC is not the deepest conference. We've seen 2 years in a row. And, you know, I would probably say that the SEC was a better conference in previous years. That's a possibility. I mean, we really don't have the weigh-in, we really don't have the measuring stick as we do now. You know what I'm saying? As we did in previous years, you know, before NIL. We didn't really have that the true measuring stick. But I will say that the SEC had more talent back then. And it's not because the SEC, because there's this whole narrative that Southern football is better than Northern football, Midwestern football, all this stuff. I will say that they probably invest more in their teams and their players, you know, down south. But talent comes from all over the country, as you see. You know, we sit here and like, yeah, SEC has more, the South has more talent. But if you look at a lot of players from the country, even players who played in the SEC, a lot of them weren't even from the South. Like, a lot of people want to talk about, damn, I can't remember his name right now. Hell, he's talking about leaving right now. The quarterback for the Bengals. Damn, I cannot remember his name right now. Sheesh. But he played for LSU, right? He was a quarterback at Ohio State, but then he went for LSU, and they had an amazing season and won the Natty that year. But can't remember his name right now, but he's from Ohio. He's literally from a town about an hour away from me. You know, you have a lot of players that are from, you know, different places like California. A lot of Alabama quarterbacks come from California. Hell, Julian Sand was he's from California, and he was going to play Alabama. You know, you have all this talent from all over the country playing different places. You know, you have talent from Ohio playing at SEC schools and places like, so yeah, talent just comes from everywhere. But they're more attracted to the SEC, so you have a lot of talent that goes to SEC. Why? Because for many years, like, this has been disclosed as of the past few years, that the SEC were paying players before NIL. And before teams are now being years ago. You know, for the past decade, they were paying players, which was something that the Big Ten was couldn't do, and we were getting in trouble for like little tattoos and shit like that, you know. And then he had the whole Maurice Clarett situation where he, you know, and the Buckeyes got penalized for Maurice Clarett being given money to help take care of his mom, right? Because his mom was going through like a financial issue. So, yeah, while we were being penalized for trying to do stuff like that, they were paying players under the table, and that's why a lot of players were going to SEC schools like Alabama, which is why when NIL kicked in, what did Nick Saban do? Nick Saban left. You know, we talk about, you know, the coaches coming from SEC country. No. When you look at a lot of coaches that coach in the SEC, a lot of these guys are from the Midwest or from the West Coast. You know, like look at Nick Saban. Nick Saban is literally from a town less than 2 hours away from me. He's from West Virginia. West Virginia. This town, the town that Nick Saban is from, is literally less than an hour away from the Ohio border. So no, these coaches are not from SEC. Like literally, this guy who I work with, he passed away. I'm gonna say like 5 months ago. He passed away. He's literally from the same town from Nick Saban, right? So yeah, West Virginia. Ooh, shit in the road here. In the road. Yeah, Nick Saban is not from SEC, and he actually, before he coached in the SEC, he used to coach for Ohio State. He was one of the assistant coaches at Ohio State. So, you know, they got to get their talent from somewhere. They got to get their talent from somewhere, you know. So yeah, these coaches, they move around. They do a lot of shuffling around, moving around. So, you know, this whole myth of the SEC being better, the South being better, that's bullshit. I just think that there's good teams everywhere. And, you know, more so than anything, I'm not, you know, I do believe that the SEC is not the deepest conference, and they haven't been for a while. They always been given the benefit of the doubt that they are the better conference just because of preconceived notions and who's, you know, spreading the narrative. But as we see in the results, the SEC is not the better conference. We've been saying this for 2 years in a row. Now, since we have a good measuring stick, which is the 12-team playoffs, which has let a lot of these teams play against each other, because we see, you know, in these bowl games and then even the playoffs, the SEC is losing to the Big Ten. The SEC is losing to the Big Ten. You know, what is considered our mid to bottom tier teams are beating their mid to bottom tier teams, and they're talking about they're the deepest, right? From top, they always say from the top to the bottom, the SEC is better, but yet our bottom to top is beating their bottom to top. Like, make that make sense. Make that make sense, right? So yeah, man. Hell, the second year Georgia won back-to-back natties. Georgia should have lost to the Buckeyes, but there was terrible calls from the refs that helped them win. Oh man, it was everybody, damn near everybody. It's like a general consensus that was the natty game, and that OSU should have won that. That there was a lot of bullshit calls that stopped OSU from actually winning that game. But I always say, hey, if it comes down to the refs, you didn't play good enough, right? You didn't play good enough. You should never leave the games to the decisions of the ref. Now, it's another thing when the calls are very egregious and it's very obvious and blatant. Yeah, there were some of those calls that game, but still, we should not have let it been that close. We should have came out and dominated, because as everybody's seen, we were the better team. We should have went all the way that year, but it is what it is. That was, 4 seasons ago, I think. I think it was 4 seasons ago. Yeah, because Georgia had one, then who won after that? Georgia, then Michigan, then Ohio State. So yeah, man. All these SEC homers, man, y'all need to shut up. Shut up. The results show the Big Ten is the deepest conference, but there's just good teams everywhere. I mean, honestly, I think all this talk about what the deepest conference is, especially for the SEC, would die if they got rid of conferences. If they just got rid of conferences, right? But we know they're not going to do that. There's just too much money involved. Like the SEC and the Big Ten, they're greedy as hell, man. There's no way in hell that they're going to let this go. No way in hell. No way in hell they're going to let those teams go and lose all that money that they get and generate, right? And the reason why some people are floating these ideas around, it's for various reasons, but like why can't everybody else get the same benefit that Notre Dame is getting? Like Notre Dame, y'all a bunch of damn sissies, man. Notre Dame, the crying Irish is what they should be called. Because these motherfuckers literally threw a temper tantrum and got their way. These fools opted out of a bowl game because they didn't make it into the playoffs. They would have made it into the playoffs had they been a part of a conference, because had they been part of the ACC, they more than likely would have gotten in over some other teams. They may have been given the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, they lost to Miami, but they were 10-2. And had they went to the ACC and beaten Miami, because that was a possibility. Had they beaten Miami in the ACC game, but not only did Miami even play in the ACC championship? I don't think they did. Who was it? It was Duke and was it Georgia Tech? I can't remember who it was. I think it was like, who was it? Was it Virginia and Georgia Tech? I don't know. I can't remember, man. There's been so many games I've been watching that I just can't remember. But yeah, I don't even think Miami even played in the ACC championship. They may have, but damn, I can't remember right now. But who knows? If they had joined the ACC, they would probably have been in it. They probably would have been in the running, Or maybe they would have been given the benefit of the doubt. But because they're not in the conference and they're the special child, they're the golden child, they thought that they could just not be a part of the conference and still get the benefit of the doubt. But they didn't this season. And now, I believe the committee came up with like a rule that if they are at least ranked number 12, that they will get into the playoffs. And that's not fair. Because what about all the other teams? Say Notre Dame doesn't get ranked number 12 and another team is ranked number 12. I can't remember who's ranked number 12 this season. It may have been Alabama. I think Alabama may have been ranked number 12 this season. They got in, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. But I mean, hell, in previous season, say, Notre Dame doesn't rank number 12. They're like number 13 or 14, and they don't make it in. Is that number 12 team going to still make it in? Whoever they are? Probably more than likely not, because they're not Notre Dame nor Alabama. Because let's keep it a buck, Alabama is the golden child of conferences. Of every conference, they're the golden child. They're given the benefit of the doubt. They almost made it in last year because of how much of a golden child they are and how much motherfuckers was crying for them last year. Right? They almost made it last year. And they made it this year because all the crying and hoopla everybody did for Alabama. Alabama is a better team and blah, 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 and all this shit. So they got in this year, even though they was 9-3. Like, are you kidding me? That is crazy work. Like, yeah, I know that they had lost to teams that made it into the playoffs. I get it and everything like that, but still, to me, that's ridiculous. You're 9-3. What the fuck is the point of a record if you're, not making it? And I know that people want to see, good football games and all that stuff, and I have to admit, the Oklahoma and Alabama game was a very exciting game. It really was. It was very exciting, especially for Alabama fans when it came back and won. At first, it was just getting dominated, right? But that was a much more exciting game. And as we see with Miami and Texas A&M, they were ranked I think number 4 postseason, and that was not an exciting game at all, But yeah, man, I really think that maybe they should probably get rid of conferences. I don't know, because it seems like Notre Dame is getting a lot of benefit for not being in a conference. Like, honestly, Notre Dame, based on their schedule, they should join the ACC. Based on their locale, it makes more sense for them to be in the Big Ten. Honestly, they're in Indiana. I literally, just last week was about probably 30 minutes away from where Notre Dame is. Literally 30 minutes away from them. Just last week, actually twice last week, maybe 3 times last week, I was 30 minutes away from them. They're not too far from the Ohio border. But yeah, it's crazy that Indiana isn't a part of the Big Ten or the ACC. But a lot of people believe the reason why they play against the ACC, they got a lot of scheduling agreements with them, is because it makes them look tough. Because the ACC, it makes some sense, when it comes to locale, because they're not too far from the East, from the East Coast. They're not too far. It makes more sense than being a part of what was the Pac-12, because that's the West Coast, or even, the Big 12 and the Big 12 and all that stuff. Like, it makes more sense for them to be part of the ACC than those teams that are farther away. But the ACC, in my opinion, may be one of the weaker conferences. Because I think the Big 12 has great teams, like Utah. I think Utah's a good team. I think that Texas Tech is a great team. BYU, a great team. They got some good teams. I think the Big 12, I think that they have quite a few good teams. I think that they're very underrated, in my opinion. And I feel like the ACC is probably the weakest out of the Power Four. I think that they have the weakest teams, the ACC, and I think that's why Notre Dame plays against the ACC in a lot of their schedule, because it makes them look tough and dominant, right? So I think if they played the Big Ten, they probably they won't look so good. If they played in the SEC, they won't look so good. If they played in the Big 12, they won't look so strong. Because there's many teams in the Big Ten, in the SEC, and even in the Big 12 that I think would beat Indiana. That would beat Indiana. Oh my God, this truck turned over, y'all. Look at this shit. Look at this. Look at it. Look, he crashed. Look at this shit. Look at this shit, y'all. Look at this. Yeah. Y'all gotta be careful out here. This is I literally just drove past 3 crashes. And I just happened to show you, those are some of the worst ones right there, y'all. That's some of the worst ones right there. But yeah, that's all bad. That's all bad. You gotta be safe out here, man. People out here crashing. You got people pulling over on the side of the road up here. Yeah, like it's bad out here. I mean, it's not bad, but you're not used to this weather. You're not used to driving out here yet. You're gonna get fucked up. I think there's another crash up here. Like, this is literally like going to be the 4th crash. But yeah, y'all see that truck? He overturned. He overturned. He overturned. So you got to give yourself a lot of space, a lot of distance. Let me get over. I'm not sure what this guy's trying to do. But yeah, you got to give yourself there's another accident up here. Another accident up here. So yeah, y'all got to be careful, man. Don't be playing out here in this snow. And mind you, this is not even heavy snow. Like I drove to the side up here. Shit. It looked like a lot of the doubles, because the one that was flipped over back there was a double. The one that was turned over on the side, I think it was a double. These doubles are having a hard time. If you're pulling doubles and triples in snow, you gotta be those are probably like the most dangerous type of semi-truck combinations to be driving in the snow. And the reason why is because you got 2 trailers and they love wagging. They love wiggling and wagging, right? Especially your tail trailer. That thing wags more than anything. So you got to be careful. And yesterday I drove through some crazy weather, y'all. Like, I was up in the hills in the Appalachian part of Ohio, and I mean there was points where you could not see the road at all because it was covered in like about several inches of snow. And then you would drive like 5 to 6 miles up the road, there's no snow at all, right? It was crazy, and I just kept going through snow pockets. I mean, it was crazy work, y'all. Crazy work. Way worse than what's going on right now. Like, it's crazy because a lot of roads are cleared and salted, and you still got people out here crashing. I'm not sure if it's because they're hitting ice or what it may be, but there's bumpers in the road. I mean, people out here crashing like crazy. I'm just like, what the hell? But you have to remember that some of these truckers are not from this area, and that's the thing. Truckers, we travel countrywide. Some of us are local drivers, to where we drive maybe out of state, maybe 1 or 2 states over, and come back at the end of the day. So you're not really experiencing too much difference, in weather. But then you have drivers, I will say probably 60 to 65% of your drivers are actually regional and over-the-road drivers, to where they're traveling through different parts of the country. Like, you have drivers coming from the south up north into the Midwest, and they're not used to this weather at all. Like, when we lived in North Carolina, when we got like just even like a half an inch of snow, the whole city is shut down. Got paramedics up here coming. But yeah, I mean, you get a half an inch of snow on the ground, 1/4 inch of snow on the ground, the whole city shuts down, right? I used to live in Fayetteville, North Carolina. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, and I know that, southern states, like, yeah, they get snow too. I know that it snows in Alabama. I know that they get snow in Alabama, Georgia, certain parts of Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina. But they don't get the crazy, it's rare for them to get the crazy amount of snow that you can get in certain places in the Midwest and, other northern states and stuff. Like, it's rare for you to get like more than 5 inches of snow in North Carolina. Like, no, we got it. We got snow every year. Like, you get snow every year in North Carolina. But it's not all the time that you get several inches of snow. So say if you're just used to that weather, right? Because my wife, she also has family in North Carolina. Right? Her uncle, he drives semi trucks. But I remember one thing he would always tell me is that he hates driving to places like Ohio during the winter because, you know, he's just not used to driving in the snow. He's from Charlotte, right? And Charlotte, yeah, they get snow there, but not all the time. You know, like, yeah, it gets cold. It gets cold. Man, look at this dude. Crashed off into the side down there. Crashed off into the side, y'all. This shit is taking people out, man. Like, it's even taking locals out. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I need to know. Should I be driving today? Should I have kept my ass home today? I mean, next time I'd be back on the road. Like, I'm probably about like 30 minutes away from my destination. So I'm almost there. Hopefully, you know, Most High willing, I don't crash before getting there. But I'm not going to be driving. I'm not going to be driving until, like, once I get there, it's probably going to be like about 3 hours before I get back on the road. And by then, the road should be mostly cleared and salted and all that stuff. So, really shouldn't have too much to worry about. But another thing too, guys, you get some tires on your damn cars, man. I know how it's like being in a struggle and, you know, putting your tires off, you know, but don't be out here gunning it and gassing it when you got some bald tires. don't do that. Don't be out here driving in this weather with bald tires, man. Hell, you even got truck drivers out here that's driving on some damn bald tires, man. Like, don't be doing that. That's probably what's taking these folks out for real. And if you're rear wheel, especially don't be gassing it. Like, my pickup truck is rear wheel, and like, even though I can switch to 4-wheel drive, that's only meant for, you know, driving for load speeds and getting yourself out of, you know, situations where you're on ice, or if you're stuck, you know, in mud or in a ditch or something like that, to help you get out. But it's not meant for driving at high speeds, but it can help you if you're not getting traction, to build up traction. You can switch into rear wheel drive, you know, 2-wheel drive, right? But if you're driving, if you got 4-wheel drive, yeah, you can essentially gas it out here. And if you're all-wheel drive, like my wife's car is, yeah, you can gas it out here, but you still got to account for ice, you know, because even though you're all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, you know, if you hit ice while trying to brake, yeah, that's gonna cause you to crash out. You know, you're gonna do a bit of sliding, and you're gonna have a heart attack on that skid, you know. But oh shit, there's another crash up here. Look, off in the distance, man. I'm telling you, this is like the 6th crash that I've passed this morning. 6 crashes, man. 6 crashes, man. So yeah, I gotta slow down some more. But yeah, I'm suspecting that a lot of these people are driving on bald tires. You know, tires with very low tread depth. Luckily, my tires are brand new on this truck. Brand new. But yeah, that was all bad, man. Those trucks that were flipped over back there, man. Sheesh, I hope those drivers are all right, man. Hope that they are all right. Sometimes people can be just doing too much out here, man. They can just be doing too much. And sometimes accidents happen because you got drivers who are just being idiots, man. And you're trying to avoid a crash. Like, I literally had a dude who hit my truck just last week. Last Monday, this dude's out here being a fucking idiot. Just being an asshole. He jumps over into my lane, knowing that I was there, hits my truck. I'm doing everything to let him know. Oh, God, there's another crash up here. Jesus. So I just passed the crash, and there's another one up here in the middle of the road, the highway. Man, this is all bad. And mind you, it's not even snowing right now. Like, the snow stopped probably about an hour ago. And there's not even that much snow on the roads. And you got people up here crashing out. It's crazy. That is crazy work. Let me see. Okay, this is my exit now, so I'm about to go. Yeah, but like I said, I had a guy who hit me last week because he was doing too much. And, I could have jumped over into the right lane, but then I would have hit the vehicle beside me, right? And a lot of times our reaction is to jump out of lane to avoid an accident. I saw a guy, and this dude who he does like car content, and he had a 300. He had a RT 300, and he totaled his car because he was trying to avoid an accident. He was trying to avoid an accident. It's crazy. Yeah, look at this guy. Damn, this is all bad. Shit. Well, yeah, he was trying to avoid an accident, and then it ended up causing him to cause an accident because he was trying to stop from hitting a car that just suddenly braked in front of him. He ended up going into the lane and causing an accident, and then he was found at fault. And, I completely understand trying to avoid an accident. Like, it's natural for people to try to avoid a crash, but once when you leave your lane and you get into an accident, you're completely at fault, right? So you have to fight against your instincts in order to stay without trying to go into being at fault, man. It's just crazy, man. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, get back to football. Like I said, the SEC, they ain't the deepest. Just kill that whole bullshit theory. Like, I don't feel like really any conference is deeper than each other, but the bowl games are proving that the Big Ten has been the deepest, and I think NIL has changed a lot. NIL has done a lot for college football. It has spread a lot of the talent around instead of them just going to SEC schools because SEC schools were paying them. Now all schools are essentially paying their players, and it's helping talent, move around. You see a lot of coaches that are being fired. I mean, it's been crazy, man. I think like over 10 coaches were fired this year in college football. You see a lot of shuffling around of coaches. Michigan got Kyle Whittingham from Utah. Oh my God, now I'm afraid, man. Because Kyle Whittingham, he's a good coach, man. I'm surprised they landed him, man. I guess he feels like he has a better opportunity, especially if they keep Bryce Underwood. Yeah, they're probably gonna be a pretty good team next year, man. Because Michigan wasn't a terrible team this year. They were actually a decent team this year. They're a decent team this year. What were they, like 10-2? Now with the postseason loss, they're probably gonna be 10-3, but still a good team. But they're what we consider this season to be a mid-tier team, and yet I think that Michigan can beat, quite a few of the SEC's mid-tier teams, even some of their what's considered their top-tier teams. And I just feel like in this day and age of football, there's a lot of teams that can just beat each other. There's a lot of teams that can beat each other, And there's teams that are top-tier teams, that are considered top-tier teams that have lost games that they had no business losing, Like Alabama, for example. Like, they lost some games that I feel like they had no business losing this year. At least I can say with the top teams in the Big Ten, like, see, when it comes to the top teams in the Big Ten, we haven't lost any games this year that we had no business losing. While the top SEC teams, they had games. Like your top SEC schools this year, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas. All right, Tennessee is considered their top tier team too. Yeah, and I want to throw Tennessee in there too. That's their top 5 teams. Yet they all lost games that they had no business losing. All of them. All of them. Ole Miss lost. If I remember correctly, they lost to a team that they had no business losing to. Alabama had games they lost that they had no business losing to. They lost to Oklahoma, and honestly, I feel like they shouldn't have lost to Oklahoma the first time around, right? But they lost to Oklahoma last season, who they should not have lost to. They lost to Oklahoma this season, regular season. They lost to them, had no business losing in that game. Alabama beat Georgia. Georgia had no business losing to Alabama in Georgia's backyard. Like, no business. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Georgia lost to Alabama in Georgia. Like, what the hell? What the heck? Like, you had no business losing to them with the home field advantage. That didn't make any sense at all. All right. But then Georgia comes back and beats Alabama again, essentially in their own backyard because they played in Atlanta, which I think is unfair. I know that there are people who's like, yeah, man, playoff games should be in on campuses, should be played on campuses. I don't agree with that because it's postseason. It's postseason. It's not the regular season. No, it should not be played. It should always be played at a neutral site. And it should be at a neutral site that makes sense. It shouldn't be Alabama versus Georgia in Atlanta. Like, make that make sense. That's essentially a home game for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that shouldn't happen. I think that, like the first rounds of the playoffs should not happen at schools. I think it should all be neutral. And the reason why I say that is because, well, home field advantage is called home field advantage for a reason. It gives you an advantage. It allows the home team to stack in a lot of their fans and make noise that is deafening for the other team. And it throws off the other team, whether it scares them or, they can't hear shit. But it's a huge advantage. Huge. So no, if we want to see who the better team is, I think that we should get rid of, any postseason games being on campuses, and it shouldn't be in stadiums. Like, for example, say if Ohio State had played Texas A&M, say if Texas A&M had won, we should not be playing them in the Cotton Bowl. Nope. We should be playing them in Atlanta, or we should be playing them somewhere in between. Maybe LSU. That will make more sense, right? Or maybe maybe Florida. Maybe one of the stadiums in Florida. Like the Orange Bowl, or maybe down in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium down in Louisiana. That probably would have made more sense. But to play in the Cotton Bowl in Texas, that's essentially a home game. Had Texas A&M won, that don't make any sense, right? And say Atlanta, Georgia plays whoever in the Falcons Stadium. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, no, they need to play them in strategic areas to where no team has an advantage at all, right? Like that's just stupid to me, man. That's just, to me, that's just dumb. And then, like, say USC plays a bowl game, in the Rose Bowl against, like a team that's from like the South or the East Coast. Like that wouldn't make any sense at all. So I just honestly, I feel like all post games should be played in neutral sites that make sense. Neutral sites that make sense. Nothing more, nothing less, right? Because I want to see teams that are supposed to be comparable to each other play on equal footing, not no home field advantage. Like no, that doesn't make sense. I want to see who is actually better without the interference of fans. Without the interference of fans, I can tell you this, man. If there were no fans at games, man, I think it'd be a huge difference, honestly, in how the players play. Probably be boring as shit, but there'd be a huge difference. But anyways, and I'm not saying I'm calling for that at all. Like I'm not calling for there to be no fans at these football games. That'd be lame. But yeah, I'm almost to my destination. I'm probably like 10 to 15 minutes away. All I know is today is going to be a lot of football. I am going to be tuning in because I think today at 3 is when a lot of the games start. There may be a noon game today, but I can't remember if that's the Texas and Michigan game. What else plays today? I think Texas Tech and Oregon, I think they play tomorrow. Like around 3 something. Alabama and Indiana, I believe they play tomorrow too. I think they're the premier game tomorrow. Georgia, they play. Damn, I forget who Georgia's playing. Who is Georgia playing? Because Ohio State, Miami, Indiana, Alabama, Oregon, Texas Tech. I'm really trying to remember who the hell they're playing. I can't remember if they're playing like a cupcake game. I don't know who else. Oh yeah, Ole Miss. Duh. Shit. No, they're not playing a cupcake game. Yeah, Georgia and Ole Miss. That's going to be a really good game. I'm looking forward to that. See, I'm more of a football fan rather than the SEC versus Big Ten, but of course, since that shit exists, I'm rooting for the Big Ten, of course, because my team is a part of the Big Ten. Honestly, I think all of the games are going to be good games. Like, they're going to be exciting. I'm talking about all the playoff games, man. All of the playoff games are going to be probably more than likely exciting, man. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin is a freaking idiot, man. Like, why did you leave Ole Miss for LSU? Like, why? I honestly, I don't get it. Ole Miss wasn't really much of anything. Like, Ole Miss, they have been, and Ole Miss, that's another team that had a stupid loss early into the season, right? Ole Miss. And who did they lose to? Was it LSU they lost to? I don't know, man, but Ole Miss, and it's so funny, like how SEC dudes be talking like, oh yeah, our teams are just so much, like our conference so much deeper. But yeah, your top teams be like, are just like everybody else. Top teams like Penn State is like one of the top teams in the Big Ten. Look how terrible they did. Michigan is a top team, but they were pretty mid this year, right? It's the same thing with Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they be up and down, up and down, up and down, but they're mostly consistent, right? And that's when their top teams, they be losing to who they have no business losing, just like Ohio State last year. We lost to Michigan, who we had no business losing to, right? So it happens, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying, most of all, it's equal. There's really, like I said earlier, I don't think that there's really any conference that's just like, oh yeah, we're just so much better. Yeah, the Big Ten has been more dominant over the past few years, but the whole argument that the SEC is deeper, that's just ridiculous in my opinion. So I just think that there's good teams and bad teams in both conferences. Because like I said, look at the top teams from the SEC. They have lost games this year they had no business losing, while the top teams of the Big Ten, they did. Indiana, they didn't lose to anybody they had no business losing to. OSU had no business losing to anyone that they didn't have business losing to, right? We lost to Indiana, very good team, right? Should we have beat them? Yeah, but it's not like we lost to like some freaking mid-tier team or some low-tier team. We didn't do that like how a lot of ACC teams and even SEC teams did, right? Georgia, they lost to Alabama, and then they ended up beating Alabama. Like what? It's just like a lot of trading around. We don't do that in the Big Ten. Our top teams don't do that. So what I'm saying is, from top to bottom, the Big Ten looks stronger for the past 2 years. Same thing with Oregon. They didn't lose to anybody they had no business losing to. Alabama had a lot of close games that they could have lost this year, and they survived like roaches, right? And that's your top tier teams when it comes to the SEC. Like, come on, like, yeah. I mean, Georgia has been the most consistent, and they lost to Alabama, a team they had no business losing to. And I can't remember. Is Georgia, are they 11-1 or are they 10-2? They may be 11-1. Because I don't remember Georgia losing to anyone else, but they had some close games. But that's only because we have a deeper conference. No, maybe it's because y'all are mid. Maybe because y'all are mid. They would literally say that, like, well, the reason why their top tier teams are losing to their low end teams is because their low end teams are better than the Big Ten's mid tier teams or top tier teams. But it's like, well, how is that true when your low tier teams that are beating your top tier teams are losing to our mid tier teams and even our low tier Big Ten teams? Like, how is that? That don't make sense. So that must mean that you guys are just trash, But that's the excuse they would use. Like, oh yeah, well, we're losing to our low tier teams because that's how deep we are. Because our low tier teams are just as good. They're just very good. And it's like, no. Maybe because y'all are just mid. Maybe y'all top tier teams are just mid. That's why y'all losing to your low tier SEC teams. And why our mid SEC teams are beating your upper SEC teams and your mid SEC. It's like, come on. Like, their whole argument just doesn't make any sense at all. And it's funny because they're making Big Ten fans look more reasonable and like we have more logic than them. Like, come on, don't make Southern folks already have the stigma and the stereotype that they're slow and dumb and all that stuff, which is not true at all. We know that to not be true. But there's the football fans are surely making it seem like that. But they hate to have to take that dose of reality, man. Take the red pill and wake up and see that the SEC is just not deep like they think, man. It's just not deep. Because you guys up here losing games that y'all shouldn't be losing. Y'all letting low-level SEC teams beat y'all, like Mississippi State and shit. Like, come on, really? Y'all losing to teams like Mississippi State. That is like Ohio State losing to Northwestern. That's like us losing to Rutgers and teams like that. Like, are you kidding me? Like we don't do that. We don't do that. Like, yeah, we lost to Michigan, but Michigan last year, they finished on, what was it, like, I can't remember what they finished on. Was it like 9-3? Maybe even 8-4? All right. You know, that's not a bad, you know, season. But still, you know, like, people was talking shit like, oh yeah, y'all lost to Michigan, especially Matt B. Great. That dude, he's a weirdo. He was like, yeah, man, y'all lost to Michigan, Little Bro State. But then they end up losing. They end up losing to the same Michigan team. And then they lost to Oklahoma 2 years in a row, which made them Little Bro Bama, Little Tide. But then they actually beat them this year, you know, postseason, right? They should have lost, but it's like somebody got the call and was like, you know, let's let Alabama win, because, you know, we gotta let them win. Gotta let them win to give more hope, because I don't think Oklahoma is gonna make it past the quarterfinals, right? I don't think Alabama is either, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd be highly surprised if Indiana loses to Alabama. I'd be highly surprised. Like, honestly, I don't think that's gonna happen. They have to have a bad day for that to happen. They have to have, Ty Simpson is just not the guy at all. Oh man, I'm gonna struggle getting this damn this trailer into the door, because there is no lines. Everything is covered up by snow. The lines were barely visible to even begin with, and now I gotta try to line this thing up. Oh man, it's gonna be rough. But anyways, struggle begins. Because this building is kind of diagonal. Yep, so I made it to my destination safe and sound. Oh, okay. Yeah, I may have even lined up perfectly. Sometimes it takes me several tries. I may have lined this thing up perfectly. I gotta get out and see. This nigga said gay. Yeah, that's your mama. Your mama gay, your whole damn family gay, homie. Anthony Parker. You know what's gay? Is coming to someone's stream and then calling them gay. Like, you really took the time out to worry about me. You took the time out to worry about me, so nigga, you gay. You worried about another grown man. You came all the way in here to come into my stream and to call me gay. Who's gay? Damn, I didn't even know I had fans out there like that. Anthony Parker, G4E. What is that? Change that 4 into an A. G-A-E. Gay. Yeah, nigga, you gay. This nigga must be like an SEC fan. Man, that shit was hard as hell to open, man. Because one of the latches was fucking stuck. I don't know if that was like due to ice or what. But at the top it was stuck. Okay, I should be set up good enough to where they can get in. Anyways. Yeah, I'm about to end this stream. But yeah, Chuck. Chuck, okay. Oh yeah, that's that nigga. Anthony. He said gay. Nah, nigga, that's your mom. That's your mom, little nigga. Trust and believe, man. You wouldn't be talking that shit. It's funny because most people who talk crap through the internet. But in person, nah, he wouldn't have that same. I can guarantee you, he ain't gonna have that same energy. Won't have that same energy at all. When I was in high school, I was literally the bullies of the bullies. Like I would beat the bullies up, right? So yeah, I'm sure he wouldn't have that same energy. I don't give a fuck how big or how small he is. He wouldn't have that same energy in real life. Yeah, people, they always talk tough online. I'm 6'4", by the way, so I can almost assure you this dude is probably a little nigga. He probably ain't nowhere near my size. I boxed when I was younger, so I know how to fight. I know how to wrestle. I did wrestling in high school. I also boxed, and I still down in my my man cave. I got a heavy bag down there where I practice. I work out at. So yeah, I can guarantee you, man, he wouldn't have that same. He wouldn't have that smoke for me in person. Talking about gay, like, yeah, nigga, fuck your mom. Your mom is gay. I can turn. Look. Y'all probably never seen this side of me before. Yeah, like I was saying, like, y'all haven't seen this side of me. But yeah, I like I said before, I'm from the street, so sometimes the street side comes out. You know, sometimes my wife be having to get me in check. You know, because I be letting some things get the best of me at times. But I try my best to keep, you know, a positive mindset and try not to let my street side come out, because, you know, sometimes that can put you in some dangerous situations and some situations that you don't want to put your family into. Since I have a family, I try not to put myself into those situations like that, you know, when it comes to, you know, letting my old life kind of take over, right? But anyways, yeah, little homie, you ain't about that, man. Nigga just mad because the SEC is trash. Nah, the SEC ain't trash, man, but the Big Ten, yeah, we're better. But I just like watching good football, period, man. Good football, even if it's not the Buckeyes. But anyways, y'all, I'm out of here, man. Anthony, he need to go back and suck his mom's man meat. Go back to his mom. I bet money he a mama's boy. Only softies come in here and say some stuff like that and then bounce. Anyways, all right. I'll talk to you later. Peace out, shalom, and yeah, go Bucks.